All right, let's dive into one of the most fascinating and honestly kind of weird forces in all of medicine. We're talking about the powerful placebo. So when you hear the word placebo, what comes to mind? Probably a sugar pill, right? Something fake for an illness that's all in your head. But what if I told you that an inert, totally inactive substance can actually relieve severe pain? That it can stop seasickness in its tracks? And get this, it can even create its own powerful side effects. Yeah, it gets weird. To really get this, we've got to go back in time to 1955 and this absolutely landmark paper by a Harvard anesthesiologist named Dr. Henry K. Beecher. He decided to really figure this out. He dug into 15 different studies, looking at over 1,000 patients, to try and put a number on just how powerful a placebo could be. And what he found? Well, it was staggering. And that brings us to what's been called the 35% solution. It's all about the absolutely surprising power of, well, of nothing, really. Okay, here's the magic number Beecher landed on, 35.2%. Let that sink in. Across all those studies, on average, a placebo worked. That means more than 1 in 3 people got real, actual, satisfactory relief from a pill that had literally no active ingredient in it. None. And look, we're not just talking about minor aches and pains here. The data is pretty wild. Take a look at this. For people with severe pain after surgery, a placebo gave relief in up to 60% of cases. A headache? 52% effective. And seasickness? That's a super physical thing, right? A placebo worked for 58% of people. The main thing to get here is that these were real conditions being treated by the power of belief. Okay, but here's where the story takes a really strange turn. Think about it. If a sugar pill can make you feel better, doesn't it stand to reason it could also make you feel worse? Well, Beecher found that out too. He actually documented what he called the toxic effects of placebos. I mean, check this out. In these controlled studies, people taking a placebo reported all sorts of negative side effects. Half of them, 50%, reported drowsiness. A quarter of them got a headache. People felt nausea, fatigue, dry mouth, all from a simple sugar pill? How is that possible? And this next case is it's incredible. There is this one patient who developed a severe itchy skin rash after taking a placebo. It got so bad that a skin specialist diagnosed it as a reaction to a drug. But as soon as they stopped the placebo, poof, the rash disappeared. That is a real, measurable, physical change in the body, kicked off by nothing more than belief. So the big question is, how? How on earth does this work? How can your mind create such powerful physical effects? Well, Beecher had a theory about that, and it really starts to connect the dots. Okay, so Beecher's idea was that suffering isn't just one thing. It's actually 2 different parts. First, you've got the original sensation. That's the raw physical signal, right? Like the cut from a surgeon's knife. But then there's the reaction component. And that's all the stuff your brain adds on top. The anxiety, the fear, the dread. Basically all the suffering about the pain. And this was the key insight. Beecher believed the placebo doesn't work like a typical painkiller. It doesn't just block the signal from the injury. Instead, it goes after that reaction component. It doesn't stop the raw sensation of pain, but it powerfully changes how your brain processes it. It dials down the suffering. And he had the data to back this up, which is so cool. He found that placebos work best when we're under the most stress. You know, in those high-stress situations, like right after a major surgery, that reaction component is cranked up to 11. And that's exactly when the placebo has the biggest impact. When stress is low, the effect drops way down. This is pretty strong evidence that it's all about our psychological response, not the raw physical signal. So Beecher's work wasn't just some interesting medical mystery. No, it had a massive, lasting legacy. It basically changed the entire future of how we do medical research. Because think about it. His research proved that the placebo effect is so powerful that if you're testing a new drug, how do you know if it's the drug working or just the placebo effect? The only way is to test it against a placebo. And that's exactly why we have the gold standard we rely on today, the double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial. It all comes from this. When you boil it all down, maybe the real power of the placebo is the power of trust, the power of care. There's this great quote from another researcher Beecher cited. He said, "The placebo is like a symbol of the doctor, and it sends a simple message: I will take care of you." It's that ritual, that belief that you're being healed, that seems to unlock our own body's ability to fix itself. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, for one, it's undeniable proof of the mind-body connection. Our psychological state can create real physical changes, good and bad. It also shows us that belief and just the ritual of being cared for are incredibly powerful tools for healing. And finally, and this is so important, it's because this effect is so powerful that we now have the rigorous trials we do today. They're there to make absolutely sure that a new drug works better than our own incredible belief. And that leaves us with a pretty mind-bending thought to wrap up with. If our own minds have the power to create a real skin rash and also the power to relieve post-surgery pain, it just makes you wonder, right? What are the true limits of medicine? And more importantly, what incredible potential for healing is still locked away inside every one of us?